So after 54 years of public service, Dr. Anthony Fauci plans to retire. Let's do him on a recent Meet the Press interview. It was an interview, and he answered a few questions about some things. He didn't get political, but he spoke about how he felt like in the Trump administration he was asked to stand there while lies were told. And he talked about some other things that, some good questions were asked him of is he quitting because of security concerns, things like that. And he pretty much blew that off and said no. He thought it was crazy. He kind of laughed it off. And I liked it. That's how men were back in the day. That, even when things are bad and the road gets rough, guys would, knock it off. They just dust their shoulder off, wipe their shoes off, and they would keep going. That's the way men were of my grandfather's age, of the 50s and 60s and all that. I don't think this is the time for that. And I think that's dangerous because Dr. Fauci, he is science. He talked about being science, how at hearings and stuff, he was like, they're going to come after me personally, then they're coming after me. But they come after science, they're making themselves look bad. He doesn't understand, he's compartmentalized, that Republicans are at war with science. This isn't everything that was going on during the Trump administration. Whether it be Trump's war against the EPA with Scott Pruitt, whether it be Trump's attacks on NOAA, NOAA, when they had like a tornado or I think it was a hurricane or something that came and he lied and he altered the weather map. That's a felony. Look it up. That's a felony. That is a crime what he did. Whether it be him going after some other, some farming stuff. I mean, this is what he did. Trump went after government people, government agencies, government scientists, because we're at a point now where science is inconvenient to many Republicans. Dr. Fauci, to me, is kind of a sad, tragic figure. And it's always sad to me because it didn't have to happen. And we don't want political people in science. We want the best. We don't want red or blue lab coats. We want the best lab coat. And I think this has been coming for a long time. I say it would start with Sarah Palin, this like dumbing down and just making a mockery of science, making a mockery of education. I don't think Dr. Fauci understood when you're at war with science, scientists eventually become a target. Because you're dealing with people who aren't operating off of what the experiments say. They're not operating upon empirical evidence. They're operating upon rage and anger and frustration. And rather than hold Trump accountable for wasting months on COVID, they instead took it out on Dr. Fauci and others. Very tragic tale to me because what you're doing. Look, when I heard about them shooting at sarin or that white powder to Dr. Fauci's house, and he had to get in the children's swimming pool and he had to get washed off, I knew then that this is a war. And people like him, other doctors, are targets. He doesn't understand that. He didn't. I guess he still doesn't understand that. The seriousness of the times. This isn't about gay people. This isn't about legal immigrants or black people. This is about anybody that doesn't fit that narrative. And he stood up to Trump. Remember the first hearing they did, where he was talking about at the end black people and HIV, and he was just trying to tell people hey, I'm gonna take this seriously. We're not gonna let this happen. And when Pence came back up there, the way he looked, I knew this one is not like the others. And so it didn't surprise me from how the problems he had under the Trump administration. Once again, it's sad because we don't want political scientists. We want the best. And it should have never went this way. I say that everybody around Trump was affected in the caricature, and unfortunately, Dr. Fauci as well. Everybody is lesser for associating with Trump. Period. Everybody. Nobody grew. Nobody is like more respected. Nobody. And Dr. Fauci goes out under a black cloud. Trump could have done a whole lot more with COVID. Could have done a lot more. Take it seriously. It bothers me that he didn't. Deep down, I think that what he did was criminal. And it was wrong. And I don't like the fact that, once again, people of my grandfather's age, people of my mama's age, who, that tough guy, I'm strong and we don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about this. We just do the job and go home. Well, we're getting to the point where people can't do the job anymore because now people's lives are in danger. This isn't back in the day. This is an era where we're beginning to get into political violence and violence against our trusted public health experts. Didn't surprise me, the attacks on him, because he represents science. And unfortunately, Americans, I guess, a large portion of the country doesn't value that anymore. He told you. He lied about the masks because there weren't enough masks. And he said that he knew the nurses and doctors were going to be counting on him. And he knew that if he told the truth about the masks, then people were going to go out here and buy all the masks up and sell them. That happened. That's what I don't get about Republicans. They tell lies, and then when it comes out that there was a lie, they move on to the next story. There's never a conclusion of you said A plus B equals C. That was incorrect. There was a guy in Tennessee who was buying up hand sanitizer and had it in his garage and was selling it. That's a fact. Like 3 to 5 times, I think, the normal price. Yeah, he was making a profit. A lot of that happened during COVID. There was a lot of people doing stuff like that during COVID. Fauci knew this. For buying up toilet paper. He knew this. This wasn't a conspiracy against anybody. This wasn't about lying about COVID. This was about the fact that we were not prepared for COVID. Don't blame that on Fauci because the government was not prepared. That's dumb and it's ignorant. And it's wrong. It's incorrect. Put the blame where it should be. Trump defunded the pandemic response team. You forgot that? Obama put caps on the amount of money they could get. Forgot that? Don't put it on the man that was in the ring. Put it on the man that basically shackled the man in the ring. It's a sad story. And I think COVID is really a cautionary tale. COVID is really a cautionary tale of what happens under this type of capitalism, where you don't have guardrails, you attack science relentlessly, and then when you need science, even then you shackled it. Trump couldn't do anything about it because he had already created that. Even if he wanted to do what Fauci was talking about, he couldn't have. And in the end, he ended up making the choice for the election anyway. He cared more about the election than people's lives. COVID's a story of unnecessary loss. It's a story of racism. And it's a story of really how divided America actually is in an emergency. How divided, how balkanized we really are. I think a lot of Democratic governors believed they could get air cover. They could do things. They could do things in the rural areas and get cover, and it didn't happen. And Trump went out and said, "Liberate these states" during a pandemic. So my heart, I do feel, I feel like we let him down. I feel like we did. I feel like somehow, some way, we let Dr. Fauci down, and we let down a lot of people who should have been given better information and weren't, and unfortunately are not dead or disabled. Have a good one.